Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh dan salam sejahtera. Terima kasih diucapkan kepada hadirin yang hadir latihan problem-based learning pada pagi ini. Okay, tanpa melengahkan masa, saya selaku urusia dari PPBI menjemput penceramah bagi latihan pada hari ini iaitu yang berusaha Prof. Madya, Dr. Sandra Zainathan, Ketua Program Sarjana Muda Sains Akuakultur di Fakulti Perikanan dan Sains Makanan. Dipersilakan, Doktor.
So good morning to everyone. I'm Sandra here. So today I'm going to share my experience regarding application of problem-based learning in my teaching and learning activities. I've received training from ARCAP and I've actually passed the advanced level, which allows anyone who have passed that level to train others. So I'm thank you also for PPBI for inviting me to give this sharing of my experience. Next slide, Dila. Okay, so among the learning outcomes for this training, first of all is to introduce and for the participants to know the basic concepts of problem-based learning, or in short form we call it as PBL. And also, how do you apply basic PBL activities in class? So the next one, next slide. So as a ice breaking session, I would like to ask the participants, what is your normal teaching style in class? If you could respond in the chat box. Can you tell me how do you teach in the class? Is it traditional teaching and learning where you just give the lecture and the students listen to you, or do you have like group activities or any other teaching approaches that you have applied in class? Can I see some responses in a chat box, or you can definitely unmute and just tell me what kind of teaching approaches that you do in your class, whether it is teaching centered learning or student centered learning or any other approaches like active learning and so on. Can I get some response from the participants? Active learning. Okay, Dr. Emily has been doing some game-based learning, quizzes, yes. Okay, there's two-way discussion and two-way interaction. That's good. And also, okay, so for the cooperative learning, present and sharing, yes, it seems like I have participants who actually know what is teaching philosophies and have already applied other teaching approaches. That is good, because I think then you will understand faster, you'll catch up better what is PBL. So for our next slide, so this is before I go into what is PBL, just a bit of discussion on what are the common issues in teaching and learning nowadays. So the main questions that pop up is, are you spoon feeding your students? Do you think you are spoon feeding your students? Can I get some response in chat? So no, initially yes. Initially yes. No, okay. So initially, I think before we had a lot of training on teaching and learning, many lecturers were actually spoon feeding their students. Even initially when I started my teaching as a lecturer, I think I was spoon feeding my students as well. So the next slide, Dila. So these are very common issues that we face in our classes every day. So this is just a figure of that, because you can see this what happens in our class. We can see some boring students. They are not paying attention. They have stopped listening. Some are even sleeping or thinking about other things in the class. And some even give like a blurred facial expression, because you do not know whether they understand or not. And some just keep quiet, and there is no feedback from the students. And this has been the traditional teaching and learning style of teaching. So the next slide. So this is also a common issue if you see at this comic. We do not know, we know that we are teaching the students, but we do not know whether they have learned anything from the class or not. So this is one of the example and something that we need to ponder uh, in our daily classes, or just to recap whether whatever we are teaching, the notes and whatever activities that we are doing, is it giving some benefits, have they learned or not. This is also based on experience of teaching as well. The next slide. Okay, so just to get into problem-based learning, what do you think is problem-based learning? As far as you know, or you might have heard from other people, or you might be actually doing PBL, what do you think is problem-based learning? Can I get some responses in the chat box? So unmute and see some responses. When you hear problem-based learning, what do you think it is about? For example, the definition, or what is it about? Can I get some responses? Okay, to solve current subject, learning how to solve problem, brainstorming how to solve the problem. This way it encourages discussion. Okay, quite good, I would say. So initially, even before I was doing problem-based learning in my teaching, I thought I was doing problem-based learning by just giving some case studies or problems for the students to solve. And then I thought that was the real definition or application of PBL until I went for the training for problem-based learning. So the background of PBL, it started with the medical students. They started applying, or this theory was adopted for the medical students because they were relying too much on lectures, and they rely a lot on memorizing terms and all that. They were not actually, when they go for the examination, they just vomit out whatever they have memorized. So they're not actually learning anything or practicing anything. So PBL was introduced in medical schools worldwide in Canada, US, and UK. So the next slide. So the first theory about problem-based learning was brought up by Howard Parros, who's also a medical doctor, and they have pioneered this concept of using stimulated patients to train the medical students. And he focused on problem-solving skills of the physicians or the doctors, and they used problem-based learning as a structured teaching or learning method in those days. Next. So the most important point or the intent by applying problem-based learning is to challenge the learners with problems, and also problems which are found in the real life or real life situation, so that they can use this for application in the future. Because when the students go out to the work, it's not only based on theory, they have to practice whatever they have learned. And it also is a process of acquiring knowledge, skills, and also attitude in an unfamiliar situation and applying that to such a situation. Next slide. Okay, so in terms of teaching and learning, so teaching and learning, I think, have shifted from just relying on grades. So it's more about whether the students have learned or not. And in terms of PBL, grades does not predict success. So we also seen that many students could not apply their knowledge in practical or when they are working in the future. So these also, they are not able to diagnose uh, or put into context of the theories that they have learned. They could not solve problems. So as we know, education is a continuous process, and when they are in our higher education institution, we need them to be lifelong learners, where after they have finished or graduated, they are able to find information by themselves apply, and also all the other values that we want to instill on them. So in this term, problem-based learning has been adopted to prepare the people to handle real-life situations. Next slide. So far, problem-based learning have been used in many overseas higher education institutions. So many have applied it in medical schools, pharmacies, veterinary, community college, and most of these theory is applied in healthcare and nursing, engineering, geography, and cell biology, and so on. But in Malaysia, I think there are some institutions who are applying, as far as I know, UTEM and also UTHM. One of the trainer who trained us for problem-based learning, Dr. Elizabeth, she is teaching on languages. She has language classes, and they have adopted the whole semester as a problem-based learning. So it need to be the structure and the syllabus of the courses has to be adapted as a problem-based learning. But at the same time, if we cannot do the whole semester as PBL approach, we can do some of the classes or few weeks in the 14 weeks as PBL approach. Next, Dila. So in terms of the application or the activities of PBL, it's also been said that it has a view of learning for constructivism. Constructivism is one of the teaching philosophy, because in problem-based learning, the students need to create and also recreate the knowledge together. This is based on they have a previous knowledge, but during the PBL, they will create new knowledge. They have to find the new knowledge. So this is also comes or looked in the view of as a constructivism teaching philosophy. So constructivism teaching philosophy means the students are learning from experience, whether individually or in a group work. So here you can see it means what the student can learn on their own, and also with the teacher's advice, as well as collaborating with peers. Similar to constructivism, a problem-based learning is also applied where the learning is active. The students can ask questions. They build on the previous knowledge, and there is active participation of the students. And the new learning or the new knowledge is compared to the prior knowledge. So there are many theories which I would not go into, but one of the theory that I apply in my class is the Vygotsky constructivism teaching philosophy, which is also related to problem-based learning. Next slide. If you have any questions, you can ask in between. Okay, so a problem-based learning is seen as under the constructivism teaching philosophy. It also adopts the active learning, which means active participation of the students in the class, including cooperative or collaborative learning. So cooperative learning also means that we have a mixed levels of students. Okay, when we group them for the class activity or the lab work, we need to make sure that they are from mixed level of students. For example, students with high CGPA mixed with low CGPA, students from different ethnics, and also gender, and whether they are diploma students, ex-diploma who might have taken another subject which is related, or whether they have any information or knowledge regarding these subjects or other subjects which are related. So that is what we call as cooperative learning, which is also included in problem-based learning, where we do not just make the group make the group based on just the student list, but we also research into what kind of groups are they formed and they mix together so that they can learn with each other. Next, Tila. Okay, so PBL is also focused on student-centered learning. If you could see this comic, this is more to teacher-centered learning. Whether because the teacher is saying, I expect you to be independent, innovative and critical thinking who will do exactly as I say. So this is an example of typical teacher-centered learning. For example, the lecturer just lectures and give notes in the class and the students just sit and listen. But this is not what PBL is about. It is more for student-centered learning. Next, Tila. So some of the student-centered learning also includes active learning, case study, project-based and also problem-based learning. Next. Okay. So what is, before that, student-centered learning means the teaching and learning activities are focused on the students and the teacher acts as a facilitator or as a guidance, just as a guidance. You are facilitating the teaching and learning activities. So the students are the one who have to find the information, or has to conduct the teaching, there's discussion and so on. And the students will be able to ask questions and also think critically. They will be more of discussion in the class than there's the teacher-centered learning. So what is PBL? The definition of PBL is allowing the students to learn through solving real-world problems and also by experiencing the problem-solving skills in the class. So the rationale behind problem learning, because we are preparing our students for jobs that don't exist for the time being. There are new technologies that are coming along the way, and there might be problems that they need to solve. So we need to train them based on the real life situation problems that they might face during the work in the future. And based on Richard Riley, problem-based learning also adopts values such as communication skill, teamwork, and analysis. Next, Tila. Okay, so there is a proverb saying that the students only learn something when you involve them or when the student participates in the teaching and learning activity. So if you could see, this is very common, I'm sure everyone knows this figure. The retention, students' retention rate in the class is higher when they are practicing, when there is a discussion and they practice doing it, and also when they teach other, you have about 90% of students' retention rate. Then they can remember about the important points or theories they have to learn. Next. So we are focusing from the focus of teaching the students under problem-based learning. We are focusing on learning activities, investigation of real-world problems, and we engage them as the main person of the stakeholders. And also we utilize a lot of group work activities or cooperative learning, and the instructor becomes a coach or a guide. Okay, so this is a very common figure. This is what traditional or teacher-centered learning has been, where the students just acquire all the knowledge from the teacher. But now the teacher has become the Google or internet. Students just have to Google all the information. So this is the new theoretical model of learning. So we have to shift from just giving them from giving the traditional teaching and learning to the student-centered learning. Next, Tila. So these are examples of traditional learner or teacher-centered learning, and also the 21st century learner or student-centered learner. So I'm sure we know that all of our students nowadays, they are the new generation where they need to participate, they need to move in the class. They are the initiator of the teaching and learning or of the knowledge. So they are more product or process orientated. So they can share the knowledge. The knowledge can be shared globally. There is no limits. We have so many online medias that can be done as well. Next. Okay. So these are the main criteria of problem-based learning. Student-centered. It must be done in a small student group. It can be done between 5 to 6. 5 to 6 students in a group is the ideal group members. Teachers are facilitators. The problems of the subject or the topic are the focus for the learning. And new information is acquired through self-directed learning. That means the student will give a topic or a problem and the student will learn by themselves. So in a problem-based learning as well, 100% when a syllabus is adopted as 100% problem-based learning, there won't be any notes or slides given to the student. They will only give some problems or triggers. So the teaching and learning activity starts with the problem, not with the notes or lecture notes, any other journal. So it starts with the problem and the students start learning from the problem and they will create their own notes or knowledge. Next. Okay, so the problem should be complex real world situations. So in problem-based learning, they do say that the problems which are given for the students are ill structured, which means you should not give the students the, how do I say that? The ill-structured problems means they should not give exactly what you want them to answer. For example, just an example. A good structured problem question is, for example, what is your name? So they would straight away answer, my name is Sandra. So that is a good structured problem. We do not want that. So you have to have like a ill-structured problem, something which is not directly to the question. For example, if you're talking about climate change, so you do not ask directly what are the factors that are causing the climate change. Instead, you give figures or news clippings or any other case study. Then we need them to think about the problem. I'll show you example after this. So like I said, all the information needed to solve the problem is not given initially. There is no notes, there is no paper citation or anything. So they have to start with the problem. They identify and what is the problem or what is the key topic that they need to do. They find the information by using the appropriate resources. And they also work in that permanent group for the whole semester. Next. So in the group members, there are different roles played by each of the students. So this is also encouraging just all of the members or all of the participants in the group to give their ideas. So we don't have any silent riders. So they need to take charge of their learning process, define what is the problem, and they need to find out how to solve the problem, and they conduct research, which means they find the resources they need to learn about that topic, and then they propose solution to the problems, and they have to work cooperatively in Media group. Next, Dila. Okay, so is it okay so far? Can I get some responses whether I'm going too fast or is it okay? Okay. Because I'm trying to approach the problem-based learning, like I cannot give much information until we go to some activities. But I see the participant numbers are 74. So I'm not sure whether we can do the activity, but I'll try my best. Okay. So in a group, okay, you have the, how do we observe role playing? Okay. I'm not sure it's Mr. Farid or Dr. Farid. How do we observe role playing in a PBL when they're stuck with each other throughout the semester? Okay. So every student's, I'm answering Dr. Farid or Mr. Farid's question. So every student, they would have a role in the group, and then ada satu lagi Dila. You kena klik satu lagi. Satu lagi? Okay. So every students in the group they have to choose among themselves. One person has to be the leader, the other one is the secretary. One person will play the role as a facilitator and an observer, and the rest of the group, they will be group members. Okay, so I will explain these roles before I answer Dr. Farid's question. So the leader of the group, he has to lead the group during the PBL activity, and during the activity, we also appoint a secretary who takes the notes, so keeps all of the notes during the activity, and also keeps all of the notes and also the knowledge that they have acquired, for example, papers and so on. And we have the facilitator. Facilitator is supposed to facilitate the discussion. They have to observe and see if there are some key points that they are missing. They're supposed to ask questions. So the group leader also have to make sure that everyone is participating. So the role playing can be observed by the role played by the leader as well. He has to make sure that he or she has to make sure that all the group members are playing their role, and also the observer is a silent participant. The observer is someone who just observes the discussion, and then there will be later a form or something that the observer can give feedback, and you have the group members who has to work together in order to find the solution and also the solution to the problem, and also work together. So another thing, the role playing, it can be also based on assessment. So you can do peer learning assessment. So where the leader or members of the group, they can evaluate each other. So that's one of the way how we can observe the role playing in a PBL. And also when there is discussion, usually these discussions are done in the class, so the lecturer can also monitor. But I think when you have the peer learning assessment method, that would be a better way. How do we observe whether these students are playing their role in this PBL activity? Okay, next. Okay, so before we start a class, the problem case or the case study or the question that we want the students to learn is what is known as triggers. We call that a trigger. So it can be, like I said, a news clipping regarding to the issue, an image, a comic, anything which is related to the problem, where the student would not find it immediately, because we want them to think critically. So once we have shown the triggers to the students, they have to do an independent or self-directed study. This can be done in the first class, where the students usually the lecturers will show the trigger, and then the students will do the activity of what we call as a fila table based on the triggers, and then they will discuss and find the key topic of the problem. For example, like I gave an example, if the key topic is a global climate change, based on the triggers, they will find out in that class itself, they will first class, 2 hours, they will find out what is the learning issue or the key topic, let's say climate change, and then they will find resources and go back, do their group work and so on, and come back again after a few weeks to present regarding the topic. So that's an example. So the teaching here begins with the problem, and later on they will add with the knowledge or the teaching facts. Next. Okay, so this is an example of the table that the students need to fill up during the problem-based learning activities. So normally, this is before the MCO time, where I had about 100 students in my class. Usually, I have about 100 students in my class. So if you're worried about the space to do, this was before MCO, space to do, you could even in a small space we can do this activity either in the lecture hall, or you can ask the students to do it outside. So we give a trigger, and then based on the trigger, then students need to fill up these tables. So the first column is facts, and what the students need to do is they need to extract the information from the trigger. Let's say you have an image. So under the facts column, they have to write what is the image about. Okay, and in the ideas column, they have to, all of the members have to give ideas. What do you think is that image is about? Okay, so in this activity, the secretary, who is the one who will be writing everything in the these columns, she or he cannot give any ideas. The ideas are given by the leader, the facilitator, and also the members. So the ideas can be any ideas. It doesn't have to be right or wrong. So the group leader cannot limit his or her group members by limiting the idea, saying, oh, this is not correct, we cannot take the idea. No such thing. Everyone can give their ideas in this column. So in learning issue is where they have to identify the problem. For example, they have to come up with the key topic, for example, like climate change. So the first column, facts, is what do they know? What do you know from the trigger or the image? They just have to extract from it. I'll give example after this. Ideas is they find solution. They can give all kind of ideas and causes. Learning issue is the key topic. Actions are what they need to do in order to find information regarding the key topic. So this activity was done in complex school year. You can see my students, we just use mahjong paper, and I just ask them to paste on the wall. For the time being, because of the rising issue and SOP, I would suggest to be done in a small group, like three students per group, 3 or 4 students per group, and then maybe you can have them physically separated in the lecture hall, or you can do outside. Next. Okay, so before that, Dila, can you show me that, can you share that one of the PBL example activity? Slide PBL activity sample. Yeah, can you share the slide? Okay, so this is example how the problem-based learning is done in the class. So usually I will give this table. I will explain about this table, what they should do in each of the column. The next one. The next slide. Okay, so this is an example. Usually I would demo first, okay, teach them what this is about. Okay, so let's say this is a trigger, and what should they write in the FILA table. So in the facts column, you just have to write what do you see here. Okay, what do you see here? Can some of you give some examples? How do you extract information? Is you have to extract information on what do you see. You cannot conclude anything from this picture. So what do you see in this picture? Can some of the participant, can you respond in chat box or unmute? Okay, a young boy, that's quite good. Yellow hat, shirt and pants, yes. Dotted ties, yes, thank you. So in the facts column, yes, brown shoes. Okay, costume party. Okay, so okay, Dr. May, I think, said a costume party. Okay, so for the table, the first column facts, you just have to write what do you see. So what do you see? Like everyone said, is maybe a young boy, yellow hat, yellow shirt and pants, dotted ties, brown shoe. This is what we write in facts. Whether the boy is going for costume party or not, that is what we write under ideas. So in facts, we just write whatever information that we have. We just extract the information. We cannot conclude anything. So the conclusion, whether the boy is going for a party, that comes under ideas. And usually what the students would write, they can see some trees, there's pavement, all that is the information which are extracted. So based on a trigger, you can extract as many information that you can. And next one, next slide. So this is an example. So based on the facts that we saw, we can see it's a boy, yellow hat, a hat, yellow clothes, black boots or brown boots, pavement, trees and board. So once the students have extracted the information under the facts, then usually we will show like 2 to 3 triggers. So for each of the trigger, they can continue writing the facts. So you cannot show it for too long, maybe few minutes for the first trigger, second trigger or the third trigger. Then we ask them to spend more time on figuring out what is the problem. So in ideas, all of the group members, they will start coming out with the conclusion or the idea. So like Dr. May said, probably the boy is going for a costume party or he's going to play. So that's where the ideas come from. So it can be wrong idea or a right idea. So when the students are doing this activity, teacher or lecturer have to go around and facilitate the students. We have to direct them to the right key topic, but not giving them the answers. So the learning issue or the key topic here could be party clothes or what is a party, who will attend the party or where is the party. So the key topic is a kids party, for example. And the action is where they have to do after the first class, where they have to find more information regarding the kids party using journals, internet or expert. So this is the problem-based learning activities which are done. Okay, there is another one, Dila. Biosecurity for aquaculture activities, PBL. There's a slide also. I'll show you another example before we go to. I would like all of you to try this activity as well. Okay, so this is an example of a topic that I do in my class, because our syllabus are not adopted for PBL 100%. So you can either do like few weeks, or this is what I do just in my one class of 2 hours, just a small PBL activity. So you have to have the topic and you give the learning outcome. Next. Okay, then I would explain about the fila table. Next. Okay, so this, okay, can you go to the next one? Okay, then I would teach them how to do the activity. So this is my first trigger. Okay, so this is my first trigger. I will show it for like less than 1 minute. Okay, because if you show more than that, then they will get more information from the picture. Like 1 minute, 1 to 2 minutes, and the students have to start writing what they say in what they see in the picture. Then the next next slide, and this is my second trigger, and third, and this is my third trigger of picture related to that biosecurity measures. Next one, ada tak Dila? Okay, tak ada. So this is what I show for my class. This is a 2 hours class activity, and this is a very small topic. That means they can figure out what is the topic in 2 hours class. Okay, so even though I have given them the title biosecurity measures in aquaculture facilities, that is the key topic, but they still couldn't figure out. But as long as they, along the way, they will figure out the key topic about biosecurity measures. So in this 2 hours class, at the end of the class, all of the group must have achieved the learning issues or the key topic. So if there is extra time, I would ask them to start discussing uh, about the topic, and at the end of the class, they will come up with a mind map for the topic. So this is how I do my PBL approach in class. So if you would like to do like for 2 to 3 hours, that can be done as well. Okay. Boleh Dila pergi ke slide asal. Yeah. Okay. So before we go to the very small activity, because I would like to know whether you understand how to apply the fila table, for example, in the class. But before that, if you have any questions, would you like to ask some questions? Am I making any sense? That's my question. Rasa-rasa boleh faham tak macam mana nak buat PPL activity dalam kelas? Okay, that's good to know. Because we used to have this training face to face. The past 2 years we haven't been doing this this talk. Yes, like Dr. Jenny said, you need to think how to conduct for large group. Like I said before, MCO, I do it for large group of class. That is one of the reason why I started doing PBL as well, because there's so many students. You want all of them to be moving around and active. If it's in a complex school year, I would ask them to do just pace everywhere and do it. But now because of the SOP, then we have to limit to small numbers of students. Like you said, probably 3-4 students per group, and maybe divide the whole class into 2 groups. Perhaps that's one of the way to do it. But it can be done for a large group of students. I've been doing this since past few years, so it's a good activity. Okay. Okay, Dr. What is the suitable duration for PBL? Can it be continuous? Yes. So the exact duration for PBL, you can do it for straight 2 to 3 weeks. I have an example. Okay, let me just show the example. Okay, before that, Dr. Farid, do we need initially lecture the students? Okay, the 100% PBL adoption syllabus is where you do not give them any lecture. Just give them the trigger. They explore you don't even have to give them lecture notes. This is 100% PBL syllabus. You only give them later on. So you give them the problem, the trigger, they have to find information on themselves. But the lecturer have to be there to facilitate and also to ensure that's the right way or the right knowledge that need to acquire or regarding that topic. So let's say first week, this is an example, first week, you are giving them the trigger, they have find out what is the key topics. You give them 2 to 3 weeks for them to find about the information, and they come back, let's say like a week 5 or 6, they come back and present whatever they have found regarding the topic. It could be a role-playing activity, a presentation, or poster presentation. There's so many other approach that you can do. How do they present their regarding the problem or the topics? But even for my topic, I don't give them the notes. For PBL, I don't give them the notes. Like I showed you, I just give them the topic, the learning outcome, and then the triggers. But during the 2 hours class, I guide them to the key topic, and then they will find later on I will give them the lecture. So that is not 100% PBL. So if you do not want to apply 100%, you can do for 2 to 3 weeks and give the notes later on. But you must make sure that they find out the correct key topic that they need to do. Okay. Sekejap ya, saya ada example. Bila, if we could open the viral diseases PBL in PDF, I think. So if we do 100%, okay. Dr. Jenny asked, this example of PBL is counted as teaching in SLT. This is as teaching and learning activities in the class. If you do it 100%, then it is counted in the SLT, if you can understand what I mean. So it is a part of so far, it is a part of the teaching and learning activities. Unless we have the syllabus adopted to PBL. As far as I know, only Dr. Elizabeth from UTHM was teaching language. They have adopted fully PBL. That means the lecturers don't have to lecture. You just give them triggers, find the information, they come back to present, we just guide them. So it looks like less work for the lecturer, but more guidance. You have to guide them and facilitate the students. So this is an example for what Dr. Amelia asked. If you would like to do the PBL for 3 weeks, this is like a template. I can give these example templates. Dila can share to all the participants. So we need to make sure that we have identified the LO, what topics that you want them, or the CLO that you want them to achieve. Boleh pergi bawah sikit tak, Dila? Tak kat gambar tu, first page tu. Okay, so this is like contoh macam syllabus lah. So this you have already planned what triggers that you would like to give. So for example here I have 2 images and I have a case study, information regarding the case study. But This is not categorized as an ill-structured problem because the topic is about fish disease, and I'm already giving some indication what it could be. So if you want to do a ill-structured triggers or problem, it has to be this is not one of the good example, I would say, because this was the first time I was doing that. So I would like to guide the student, and this was for the diploma student, so they needed more guidance than the degree student. Okay, next page. Okay, so we have the different this is the like a syllabus or the format learning outcome. Okay, so this is the plan. On the first week, on the first hour, what are we planning to do? For example, assign them in groups, ask them to identify and so on. And then on week 2, boleh pergi bawah sikit tak Dila? Ladder 2. So on week 2, bagi masa untuk pelajar tu buat self-directed learning. Okay, find that information. Week 3. Okay, so week 2 still students would have their own meetings during their self-directed learning, during the time they find information and they prepare for the presentation. So week 3 is where we would have the presentation, for example, a poster presentation. So after the presentation, the student, you can also give a rubric. That means they evaluate each other, rubric for group presentation. So each of the group, they will evaluate all the other groups. And the final stage is where we give them the reflection form. So they need to reflect on each of the steps during the PBL approach. So they are, if you could see, there are 5 ladders of the problem-based learning. 5 steps in order for us to do the problem-based learning. Yang tu je ya? Okay. So this is the pilot test problem. This is schema, contoh schema jawapan. Okay, what we expect the students to find under facts, ideas, what is the learning issues and resources needed. Next one, Ila. So this is the reflection form. So the students can fill up the reflection form regarding the PBL teaching and learning at each of the steps. For example, ladder 1 is where they find out they have the trigger, they do the filler table, how did they feel, what did they learn, and so on. So ladder 2 is self-directed learning, what did they learn. Ladder 3, for example, presentation or poster presentation, and so on. Yang akhir sekali adalah reflection. Okay. So this is a rubric for the poster presentation. So you can have a rubric. But it is important to have the groups evaluate each other. In that way, they can learn other information or other knowledge which have been found by the other groups. I'm just looking at the question whether I missed any question. Okay. Okay. So if your CLO is about critical thinking and problem solving, it's the one that you're targeting, then you can use that rubric. So I have 2 rubrics because of the different. Can PBL be assessed for effective domain? Yeah, I think can for communication skills if you want to evaluate the presentation, for example. Yes, so like I said, you can tailor the rubric or the PBL approach according to your learning outcome. This is activity. This is the activity that you do. You take PBL approach. So how do you assess them? That depends on what LO or your assessment that you want to achieve. So like here, I think I have the critical thinking and problem solving because one of the LO is critical thinking and problem solving. So I use this rubric. For example, if you have your LO is communication skill, you can definitely use this approach. But for the assessment, you can use the communication skill rubric to assess the presentation and not the content, for example. If you want to evaluate the content, then you use a different rubric for the content. Is that okay, Dr. Amelia? Okay. Let me see. I think I've given all the... Satu lagi, Dila sample problem template. Boleh tak share satu lagi before we go to the activity? So usually in a face-to-face talk or workshop, I would just give the slides and then we will go directly to activity, but it's a bit difficult to do online, especially when we have large numbers of participants. So this is also another sample template, or for example, for the PBL approach. So we can fill up a form like this and prepare for the PBL. So how long you want to do it and what is the subject, knowledge and process, what do you think they will learn? Bawah sikit, Dila. So this is the learning issues that we want them to achieve. Bawah lagi. This is the one. It's quite similar to the other one. So what trigger that you would like to use and all that. Okay, it's quite similar. Bawah lagi jap. So I can give this later, and here you can plan for the assessment plan. Whether you want it to be individual or group assessment, what is the assessment you're going to do, formative or summative, and all that. Okay. Okay, yeah. Okay, any questions? Yeah. Yes, Dr. Farid, yes. Like I said, it is just an approach how the teaching and learning happen. But whatever topics that you want them to learn, it can be done. You just have to use the correct or the right triggers or scenario or case study. So you can even, like you said, strong theoretical and conceptual foundation. Yes, you can teach them any theories or concepts. Just have to find the right triggers so that you can trigger them to critically think and try to find solution for the problem. Okay, back to the original slide, Nila. Thank you. Okay, so boleh share tak? Okay, so just a very quick activity. Okay, so if everyone could read what is this regarding this case study, and then you can maybe give some feedback. What do you think this is about? Okay, kita mula dengan facts lah. Okay, this is how we are trying to fill up the filler table. So we start with the facts. Okay, so based on this trigger, what do you see on the facts? Yes, Darren. So now we are trying to fill up the facts. So we extract information based on this trigger, and what do we extract? Can everyone give me some feedback in the chat box? I just want to see whether you understand. Usually we will do this face to face, and everyone would do the fila table. Okay, one-way lecture. Yes, student-centered, problem-based. I'm assuming Dr. Amelia is writing because what you see there, right? Okay, okay, that's good, that's good. Others can give a try. Okay. Okay. So for the key topic or the learning issues, what do you think this trigger is about? Maybe we can have some ideas. Yang Dr. Farid jawab, still a lecture centered, that is considered as ideas. Dr. Farida pun jawab teaching approach, that is also considered as idea. It comes under ideas because there is no words there which is saying it's a teaching approach, but this is what ideas that Dr. Farida and also Dr. Farid is bringing into the discussion. Okay, Kak Zai. Kak Zai, betul tu. That's one of the ideas as well, discussion with teaching lecturers on the topics which need to be known well by the students. Yeah, industry demand, okay. So if based on facts, okay, what we can see, you can answer anything based on the words one-way lecture, deeds instruction. You can see Darren is a Darren, and there is a guy, at the blackboard. Those are facts. And other ideas are like some of you have given, still a teacher-centered learning, multiple employability skills, industry demand, discussion, teaching approach. So what is the key topic? What do you think is the key topic or the learning issue here? Can you give me like a topic? Yes, Dr. Farid, Darren is instructed by supervisor. That comes under ideas. Okay, before we go to the key topic, Adila boleh share the next one. Okay, so this is the next trigger. What do you see here? So based on this, this is also a trigger. What do you see from this trigger? Yes, that's good. Dr. Jenny, let students find their own info. Yes, more student centered. More learning by student. Yes. Student centered. Yes. Less teaching from teachers. Yes. Student oriented. So based on the first trigger and second trigger, what do you think is the key topic here? If we use both figures, the previous one, Darren's case, and this one, what do you think is the key topic or the learning issues that we would like to achieve? Yes, teaching approach. But what kind of teaching approach? Yes, PBL, yes. Betul, Dr. Amelia. Thank you so much. Getting the students to involve, yes. So the both triggers is about problem-based learning, or we could also say it's about student-centered learning. So these both pictures have examples of problem-based learning where more focus is on the learning of the students. You can see less us, more them. And also the second picture where you can see the man pouring the water into the human brain. Instead of just we spoon feeding them, we build together the knowledge with the students, and there is group discussion and changing that paradigm shift from teacher-centered to learner-driven. That's good. Okay. Next slide. If you have any question, please feel free to ask. So this is an example of the rubric for the presentation. So you can use any appropriate rubric aligned with the learning outcomes. And the next one is, I think, reflection form. Next, Tila. Saya rasa macam reflection. This is the reflection form. Okay. Just one more thing that I would like to share. If Dila boleh share PBL full slide. PBL full slide. I think slide number 31. 31. So this is the full slide which also will be given to all of you. Slide 31 ya. Okay, so this is the 5 ladder of PBL. I just want to refresh again. So ladder number 1 is the introduction of the learning issue or the problem. Then we do the FILA table. So FILA table is one of the example approach under PBL. So ada approach lain PBL yang di mana mereka tak guna FILA table ini. So this is one of the approach. Ladder 2 is self-directed learning. 3 is group reporting or group discussion. Number 4 is presentation, and at the end is overall reflection. So these are the steps. Okay. So any questions? I think itu je Dila. Yang lain tu I think we can give the slides to the participant. So any questions or discussion? Rasa macam faham tak? Sebab I'm a bit concerned because we are not doing it physically, so I'm not sure whether everyone understand or not. Reflection is their feedback during the teaching and learning activities for the different ladders. For example, the first ladder is introduction to the learning issues, the trigger. So how do they feel? And example, what did they learn? Did they enjoy the process? Was it beneficial for them? And so on. Ladder 2 is self-directed learning, where they find their own information and notes. So how did they feel? It's more like feedback to know, feedback based on the teaching and learning approach. And ladder 3 is group discussion to get their feedback. How did they feel? And so on. It's like the whole process of the PBL approach. Is that okay, Dr. Farid? And also for them to reflect back on their learning. How did they learn on their learning learning approach or learning method and so on. Challenges during PBL. Main thing we need to consider the number of students, the space. You need a lot of space. It's better to do, if you're doing it for 2 to 3 weeks, which I haven't done yet. I haven't done 2 to 3 weeks. But when I did for 2 hours, one of the challenges is to how to ensure that the student understand that how do you teach them how to do the activity. That is one of the challenge. Initially, they did not. It took them some time when they first learn how to do this activity. It took some time for them to get to the key topics. But if the same batch, they have done it once, when you do it another time, then it gets much easier. Okay. So the next level in problem-based learning is, obviously the first level is to do the activity. We apply the activity in the class. And I guess when you're from social science or education background, you can definitely do research in problem-based learning. Okay. Because of the how is the student's performance in exam, for that topic, because I do a very small topic, for that topic they did well in the final exam, because that topic comes out in the final exam. So they did quite well. Another colleague of mine, Dr. Sarina Ismail from FPEPS, She did it for a few weeks, and they did perform well. For her case, they did perform better on that topic. But based on the students' feedback, usually I'll give them a survey to see how did they feel and was it fun. So most of the feedback was that it was fun, it was engaging, and they are happy when they can do it together, when they do it in a group and they can learn from each other. That's for some of the feedback from the student. Thank you, Dr. Farid. So I have the pre-survey and also the post-survey. So please fill up both. I just want to know whether all of you, at least when you go back today, you have got at least got an idea what is problem-based learning is. So just a recap, problem-based learning is where you give a real life world situation or real life problem related to that topic. So the teaching and learning activity starts with the topic, starts with the problem or the trigger. The students create their own knowledge, their own notes, they share with each other, and they come back to present that. So if we want to give notes or some references, you can do it after they have find out what is the, or after during the presentation or in the middle when they're doing the group discussion. But we as a lecturer, we have to play an important role as a facilitator and to guide them to correct problem solving. I did this for master students. It was during MCO. So it was a 2 credit hour class, and because of the MC, we had to do it online. So I had like 5 to 6 master students. So for each of the student, for each of the topic or LO, I just give them title, only title. So this is the title. Go find out your own notes and you come back and present. So I will give them before the class, maybe 1 week for them to prepare the notes, and then the third week they come and present regarding the topic. So during the presentation, the other students can ask questions. This was done 100% online, and we can, if it's wrong, you can definitely give them some feedback. And for that semester, they, because they are good master students, so you don't have to guide them very much, and they did a good job by researching about the topic and presenting about that. So there was a good discussion, and there was good critical thinking. So it can be done at master's level as well. It was easier, much easier to do it at master's level. So the whole semester was based on this assignment or task and questions. So give a problem, a topic, ask them to find the information. So that was quite good as well. So I think if there is any question. So if there is no question, thank you so much. Thank you so much. And this is the first time I'm actually giving this talk online. I would prefer it to do it face to face. I feel it's more effective when it's face to face and you can actually do the activity and all that. And I'm thank you so for everyone. I'm quite surprised that at least 81, we have 81 participants. So if you have any further question, you can always contact me. Again, I'm just sharing my experience. I hope, especially if you're from education or social science, you will be better at this. You can do research in PBL. I haven't got to that point yet, but maybe in the future, I'm planning to at least research something about PBL. Thank you so much.
Okay, terima kasih Doktor dapat meluangkan masa untuk berkongsi ilmu pada pagi ini bagi latihan problem based learning. Okey, pihak kami ingin memohon kerjasama para peserta untuk mengisi borang kehadiran dan balon balas latihan yang telah dipost di ruangan chat bagi tujuan rekod kehadiran dan juga sijil penyertaan. Dengan ini, saya selaku wakil bagi PPBI ingin memohon maaf di atas kekurangan yang berlaku sepanjang latihan berlangsung dan PPBI juga ingin mengucapkan terima kasih kepada hadirin yang hadir pada hari ini. Assalamualaikum dan salam sejahtera. Terima kasih banyak Doktor.
Thank you. Nanti Dila tolong share all the example and the slides to everyone.
Okey. Saya akan email
Thank you.
kepada semua peserta.
Thanks.
Okey.